You begin by noticing the quiet. Not silence, exactly, but a low, distant hum, like the sound a room makes when it is finally allowed to rest. Your body settles into the place where it already is, and you realize there is nothing you need to hold up, nothing you need to keep running. You are here. That is enough. Time does not arrive as a ticking device or a bright digital display. It arrives as sensation. It surrounds you gently, the way warm water surrounds skin, the way air rests against your face without asking permission. You feel seconds not as sharp edges, but as a slow, steady flow moving past you, patient and unconcerned with your schedule. This is time as a river, and you are already floating in it. You breathe in. The river continues. You breathe out. The river continues, but somehow softer, as if it notices you noticing it. There is no rush here, no countdown, no moment slipping away while you are not looking. Everything moves, yes, but it moves together. If you listen closely, you can sense the rhythm beneath the surface. Not a beat you must follow, but one that follows you instead. Your breath rises. Your breath falls. The current adjusts, accommodating this small, human wave without complaint. Time, it turns out, is remarkably polite. You may have expected time to be strict. Many people do. It has a reputation for rules and consequences, for deadlines and alarms. But here, at the river's edge, those ideas loosen their grip. Time feels less like a judge and more like a landscape. It exists whether you hurry or linger, and it does not seem offended by either choice. You let yourself float a little more fully now. Your shoulders soften. Your jaw unclenches. Somewhere in the distance, a thought drifts by and then drifts away again, forgetting to bother you. The river keeps carrying you, smooth and reliable, like it has done this many times before. Because it has. Science, when it arrives, does not interrupt the calm. It steps in quietly, as if removing its shoes at the door. You learn, without effort, that time is not the same everywhere. It does not flow at a single, universal pace. It responds to where you are, to how you move, to what surrounds you. This idea settles beside you like a warm blanket rather than a heavy book. You are not required to understand everything at once, or at all. The river does not quiz you as you float. It simply demonstrates, moment by moment, that time is flexible, responsive, alive in its own gentle way. You feel this truth more than you think it. And feeling is enough for now. There is something comforting about not having to chase the current. You realize you have been doing that for a long time, trying to keep up with something that was never running away from you. Here, the river holds you at exactly the right depth. You are not sinking. You are not drifting off course. You are simply being carried. A small smile appears, almost without your permission. It is slightly amusing, this discovery that time, of all things, can be kind. You imagine telling a clock about this place, and the clock, confused but curious, quietly apologizing. The thought passes, light and harmless, and dissolves into the water. The air around you feels warm, faintly golden, like late afternoon sunlight filtered through leaves. You notice the sensation of breath again, the gentle expansion and release, the way your body remembers how to do this without instruction. Each breath sends a ripple outward, and the river accepts it, incorporates it, smooths itself again. Nothing is disrupted. Nothing is lost. You begin to sense that this river has depth, layers you have not explored yet. For now, you remain near the surface, where everything is easy to see and easy to trust. But somewhere ahead, the current seems to widen, darken slightly, not in a frightening way, but in an inviting one, like shade on a warm day, like a place where more stories live. Time continues to move, but it no longer feels like it is taking something from you. Instead, it feels like it is giving you space. Space to rest, space to notice, space to exist without performance. This, too, is part of how time works, even if it rarely gets credit for it. You float a little longer, supported by something vast and steady. The river does not ask where you are going. It seems content to let the journey unfold at its own unhurried pace. You sense that gravity, still distant, will soon make itself known, leaning gently toward the water, shaping what comes next. For now, you rest in the current, breathing, drifting, safe. As the river slowly widens and invites you onward, you notice the river changing before you understand why. The surface remains calm, smooth as glass warmed by soft light, but beneath you something grows fuller, denser, more deliberate. It feels as if invisible hands are resting on the water, not pressing, not pushing, simply leaning close enough to be felt. This is gravity, not as force, but as companionship. You continue floating, and the river seems to welcome you nearer to its deeper places. Nothing pulls, nothing grabs. Instead, the water grows thicker around your body, holding you with a slightly firmer kindness, the way a heavier blanket feels on a cool evening. You are still free to drift. You are simply more supported now. Your breath notices first. Inhale, and the water lifts you with quiet strength. Exhale, and it holds you exactly where you belong. There is no sense of falling, no fear of being dragged under. Gravity does not hurry you. It only asks you to stay a while. You may have learned once that gravity is a powerful thing, something dramatic and unavoidable. But here, in the river, its power feels subtle, almost shy. Massive objects rest nearby like ancient stones beneath the surface, and the water curves gently around them, deepening without complaint. Time responds by slowing its pace, not stopping, just stretching into longer, softer moments. You feel this slowing not as delay, but as relief. Seconds linger a little longer on your skin. Thoughts take their time forming, and sometimes decide not to form at all. The river seems to say, there is no need to rush past this part. You listen, and your shoulders soften again. Science drifts beside you, quiet and patient. It explains, without raising its voice, that gravity bends time itself. Where mass gathers, time flows more slowly, like water pooling in a gentle basin. This is not a flaw or an accident. It is simply how the universe arranges its comfort. You imagine these heavier shores, places where stars, planets, and worlds rest. They do not strain to hold the river. They simply exist, and the river responds by deepening around them, respectfully, lovingly. Time thickens there, stretching each second into something more spacious. You float close enough to feel it, but not so close that it overwhelms you. There is something reassuring about this relationship. Nothing is forced. Nothing is broken. Gravity does not conquer time. It dances with it, slowly, patiently, like partners who know each other well and have nowhere else they need to be. A small thought surfaces, light enough to drift without sinking. If gravity can slow time just by being present, perhaps you do not need to work so hard to matter. Perhaps presence alone has weight. The idea makes you smile, and the river seems to smile back, if rivers can do such things. You notice the warmth in the air again, the faint glow that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. There is a distant hum beneath the water, steady and comforting, like the sound of a world functioning exactly as intended. Your body floats easily within it, every part supported, nothing left dangling or tense. In this deeper current, time does not slip away unnoticed. It rests with you, sharing the moment rather than escaping it. You feel less like a passenger and more like a guest. Gravity, it turns out, is an excellent host. Inhale as the water lifts you. Exhale as it holds you. The rhythm settles into your chest, slow and dependable. Your breath and the river find a shared pace, neither leading, neither following. They simply move together. You sense that this slowing is not permanent, not a trap or a sinkhole. It is a feature, a gentle variation in the river's design. Elsewhere, the water flows more lightly, more quickly. Here it lingers. Both are natural. Both are allowed. Time does not mind being shaped. It does not resist gravity's touch. It yields gracefully, like fabric draped over a curved surface, revealing form without strain. You watch this happen from within, feeling the difference without needing to measure it. Your experience is the explanation. A quiet humor bubbles up, slow and warm. You imagine time taking a deep breath here, stretching out after a long journey, grateful for a place to slow down. The image drifts by, content, and dissolves into the deeper blue beneath you. As you float, you begin to sense a change ahead. The river, having deepened around these heavy shores, now starts to slope upward again, gradually, gently. The water feels ready to lighten, to loosen its hold without letting you go. Gravity remains present, but it leans back slightly, allowing the current to carry you onward. Your breathing remains slow, your body at ease. You are not leaving safety behind. You are carrying it with you, buoyed by the knowledge that time can stretch, slow, and soften without ever breaking. The river begins to lift you toward a higher flow, and as it does, the water grows a little lighter, a little quicker, whispering of altitude and openness just ahead. The river begins to lift you, so gradually that you almost miss the moment it happens. There is no push from below and no pull from above, only a subtle easing, as if the water remembers how to be lighter. Gravity does not disappear. It simply relaxes its hold, giving you room to drift upward into a gentler stream. You feel the change first in your body. Your limbs seem to float a little farther from each other. Your breath moves with less effort, like air sliding easily in and out of open windows. The water around you feels thinner now, smoother, more playful in its touch. Time, too, begins to loosen. Here, seconds do not linger as long on your skin. They pass softly, like a breeze that brushes past and keeps going. Nothing is taken from you. Nothing is rushed. The river simply flows with a lighter step, and you move with it. You remember the deeper places behind you, where gravity leaned close and time thickened into something almost tangible. Those places still exist. They always will. But for now, you float higher, where the river widens and the current feels more open, more spacious, more forgiving. Science follows you here as well, unhurried and unobtrusive. It explains, gently, that farther from heavy shores, time regains a bit of its speed. Not fast, just freer. Without the weight of nearby mass, the river does not need to pause as often. It stretches out and glides. You do not need to picture equations or diagrams. You feel the idea instead. Time here feels like loose fabric rather than a weighted blanket. It drapes around you easily, never tugging, never clinging. You float and it floats with you. Somewhere above, objects drift in this higher flow. Satellites, quiet and unassuming, circle gently, unaware that they are aging in their own unique way. They do not mark the difference. They simply move, faithfully, peacefully, trusting the river to carry them. You find this deeply relatable. A small smile forms as you imagine time itself shrugging lightly up here, stretching its arms, enjoying the extra space. If time had pockets, they would be empty in this place. Nothing to carry, nothing to weigh it down. The thought drifts by, mildly amusing, and then floats away again. The air feels cooler now, cleaner, tinged with a soft clarity. Light seems to travel a little farther before settling. There is a faint hum, still present, but higher in pitch, like a distant wind chime stirred by a patient breeze. Your senses remain grounded, even as everything feels lighter. You breathe in. Your chest rises without resistance. You breathe out. The river adjusts, matching your rhythm without effort. Up here, breath and time seem to understand each other especially well. There is comfort in knowing that the river changes without ever abandoning you. Whether deep or shallow, slow or light, it continues to support your weight exactly as needed. You are never dropped between flows. You are always carried. You begin to sense distance differently. It does not feel like separation or emptiness. It feels like softness, like space that exists to give things room to breathe. Time stretches across this space smoothly, without tearing or strain. You realize that higher does not mean better. It simply means different. The river does not rank its currents. It allows them all. Deep time and light time coexist, each doing their quiet work without competition. A gentle humor returns, subtle and warm. You imagine time wearing lighter clothing up here, comfortable and slightly casual, compared to its heavier attire near massive shores. It feels appropriate. The image fades, leaving behind a sense of ease. As you float, the river maintains its calm assurance. Nothing about this lighter flow is unstable or fragile. It is just as real, just as lawful, just as dependable as the deeper currents below. You trust it without needing proof. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, you sense another change forming ahead. The openness remains, but a whisper moves through the water, a hint of motion beginning to matter more. The river does not speed up yet. It simply prepares. Your breathing stays slow. Your body remains relaxed. You float comfortably between depth and motion, aware that the next gentle shift is already on its way. As altitude fades into movement, the water murmurs softly, inviting you to notice how drifting itself begins to shape the flow. The river does not announce the change. It rarely does. Instead, you notice a subtle whisper in the water, a faint suggestion that drifting itself has begun to matter. You are still floating, still held, but now the way you move adds a new texture to the flow around you. Motion enters quietly, like a thought that does not demand attention. You drift a little faster, not because you are pushed, but because the current gently invites you to. The water slides past with a smoother urgency that never feels sharp. Nothing accelerates suddenly. Nothing jerks or startles. The river simply stretches, accommodating your movement with calm precision. You feel the effect in time before you understand it. Seconds seem to thin slightly, like silk drawn carefully between two hands. They do not snap. They do not vanish. They become finer, longer, more delicate. Time responds to motion the way water responds to a hand gliding through it. You remain at ease. Your body floats effortlessly, your muscles unburdened by any need to adjust. Breath continues its slow rise and fall, steady and untroubled. Even as you move, nothing feels hurried. Motion, it turns out, does not require tension. Science moves alongside you, attentive but quiet. It explains gently that movement changes how time flows. Not dramatically, not dangerously, simply faithfully. When you drift faster through the river, time stretches to keep pace, thinning its texture without losing its continuity. You do not need formulas to feel this truth. Your experience carries the explanation for you. Time feels slightly more spread out, as if moments take up more space without growing heavier. It is not slower exactly. It is longer, and somehow that feels comforting. The water around you remains smooth, reflecting a soft, shifting light. There is warmth here, even as motion hums quietly beneath the surface. The distant sound you noticed earlier deepens into a steady undertone, like a faraway engine running perfectly, without vibration or complaint. Everything works. Everything holds. You remember a time when motion felt stressful, when moving faster meant losing control. That memory drifts by now, distant and faint, like an old leaf floating past. Here, motion feels cooperative. The river and time adjust together, ensuring that nothing tears, nothing lags behind. You are not outrunning anything. A small thought surfaces, soft with humor. If time had preferences, perhaps it enjoys variety. A little depth here, a little speed there. The idea of time appreciating change makes you smile, and the smile settles warmly in your chest. As you continue drifting, you sense how patient time truly is. It never resists motion. It never argues. It stretches calmly, like a cat reaching into a sunlit space, unbothered by how long the stretch takes. Nothing about this feels urgent or forced. Your breathing stays slow, even as your movement increases. Inhale and the river supports you. Exhale and it glides you forward. There is no contradiction here. Stillness and motion coexist, layered gently on top of each other. You notice how reassuring this balance feels. You are moving, yet deeply at rest. Time flows differently around you, yet nothing feels unstable. The river demonstrates, without words, that change does not require chaos. Adaptation can be smooth. Light dances softly on the surface, stretching into long, quiet reflections. Each ripple carries the suggestion of motion without disturbance. You are aware of traveling, but not of distance. The river does not measure how far you have gone. It simply carries you where you are. Science remains present, but never intrusive. It reminds you that motion and time are intertwined, that movement gently reshapes the river just as gravity once did. Neither dominates. They collaborate. The universe, it seems, prefers cooperation over control. You feel held in this collaboration. No matter how you drift, the river responds with care. Time stretches without complaint, ensuring that your experience remains whole. You are never pulled thin. You are never left behind. Another hint of quiet humor passes through you. You imagine time politely adjusting its pace, clearing its throat, saying, "Of course, go ahead," as you drift along. The thought dissolves into a sense of friendliness that lingers. Gradually, the river begins to settle again. The whisper of motion softens, easing into a smoother, calmer glide. Nothing stops abruptly. Nothing snaps back. The current simply finds a new balance, steady and unassuming. Your breathing remains slow and effortless. Your body floats with the same gentle support as before. Motion fades into background texture, no longer the focus, but never gone entirely. The river feels calm, receptive, ready for reflection. As the water smooths, you sense an invitation forming. Not to compare, not to judge, but to notice. Different drifts, different flows, all valid, all true. You float onward, supported and unmeasured, as the river calms and opens space for understanding without urgency. Time continues its patient work around you, quietly inviting the idea that many paths can exist within the same gentle current, and that noticing this difference may be the next soft place the river carries you toward. The river widens once again, calm and unassuming. You notice another current alongside yours, moving differently but without friction. A second traveler drifts here, perhaps unaware of your presence, perhaps aware in some small, fleeting way. The two of you occupy the same river, but your paths are distinct. Time flows differently around each of you, yet neither current collides with the other. You watch them glide, and for a moment you compare. Their pace feels faster, slower, or just different. You feel a quiet tug of curiosity, maybe even a whisper of concern. But the river does not judge. It simply continues to carry both of you, adjusting to each course with unremarkable grace. Seconds bend and stretch in unique ways for each traveler. What feels slow to one feels lighter to the other. Time does not argue or favor either current. It is simply responsive, moving patiently with every shift, every gentle twist, every sway. There is comfort in this impartiality. You breathe in, sensing the subtle difference in your flow. Exhale, and the river accepts it, steady and warm. There is no need to synchronize or compare, only to float. This understanding settles in your chest like sunlight through calm water, bright but soft. It is enough that each current exists. Science whispers nearby, not to correct, but to explain. Relativity shows itself not as a set of rigid rules, but as a dialogue between mass, motion, and distance. Different paths naturally experience different flows. No path is wrong. No path is better. They are simply individual expressions of the same river. You notice that even though you are separate, there is a subtle connection. The two drifters share the same river, the same gentle hum beneath the water, the same warm light glancing across its surface. You are not isolated. You are part of a larger pattern, moving together yet freely. The river allows this with infinite patience. Your own pace feels exactly right. You do not need to match the other traveler. You do not need to accelerate or slow down. The river assures you that being yourself is enough, that drifting according to your own flow is valid and complete. You float, and the river affirms it quietly. A gentle humor arises. You imagine the two currents meeting and politely bowing to each other, acknowledging their difference with no expectation of imitation. Time nods along, stretching itself politely to accommodate both. The image drifts by, leaving behind a sense of light-hearted ease. The air around you feels slightly thicker here, but in a warm, comforting way. Your body senses the current moving underneath and beside you, subtle and supporting. The distant hum remains, a reminder that the river carries more than just you. It carries patterns, movements, and silent interactions that you are allowed to witness, but never required to control. You breathe slowly. Inhale as the river rises gently beneath you. Exhale as it settles, holding you, and you, and the other traveler, all in balance. There is no rush, no competition, no need to compare. The river flows with each of you equally, generously. Time stretches across the spaces between the two currents. It does not demand conformity or unity. It allows each traveler to exist in their own rhythm, and in doing so, it creates harmony without forcing it. You float, feeling held, safe, and acknowledged. The river seems to murmur that this is the way of things. All paths respected, all flows honored. A faint shimmer of light dances across the water. It catches both currents, illuminating their differences and similarities simultaneously. The effect is subtle, peaceful, and quiet. You smile softly, sensing the profound simplicity of this truth. As you drift, the river narrows slightly, guiding your attention inward. Not as a correction, not as a confinement, but as a gentle focusing of awareness. You feel your own flow, your own pace in relationship to the broader river. You notice without judgment. You float, you breathe, and you are enough. The currents begin to separate further, each traveling its own course. You sense the deep, quiet support of the river beneath you. Your breath remains slow, your body relaxed, your mind steady. The water carries you onward, into a narrower, quieter space, inviting reflection, preparation, and awareness of your own unique path. The river flows, carrying you gently into the next quiet revelation. The river carries you onward, quieter now, softer, deeper. You feel your body not merely floating within the current, but shaping it in subtle ways. Each breath you take sends ripples through the water, as if your chest were a tiny tide pooling and retreating. Each heartbeat is a pebble dropped gently into the stream, radiating small circles of influence. You are part of the river, and the river is part of you. There is warmth here, subtle and familiar, like sunlight absorbed through skin on a lazy afternoon. It rises from within, spreading slowly, touching every fingertip, every toe, every strand of hair that brushes the water's surface. The river responds to it, thickening slightly, cradling your body with an intimate, unspoken understanding. Time, too, bends quietly around you, following your personal pulse without fanfare, without obligation. Science drifts nearby, unobtrusive, like a companion who hums along in the background, content to observe rather than interfere. It whispers that even atoms, cells, and rhythms obey these gentle laws. Relativity does not only govern stars or satellites. It resides in your every motion, your every pause, your breathing, your warmth. You feel this truth more than you think. You feel it in the way your hands sink lightly into the water, the way your chest rises without effort, the way your mind slows, comfortably, along the current. You inhale slowly. The water lifts you a fraction higher. You exhale. The river holds you there, not suspended, but supported, in a weightless partnership that feels effortless. The rhythm of your body is a quiet echo of the larger rhythm surrounding you. You sense the elegance in this small, continuous alignment. Your skin feels the gentle pressure of the river's touch. It is a reassurance rather than a restraint, soft and constant, like a familiar melody carried on a calm wind. You realize that your body, far from being separate, is a shoreline shaping the flow locally. The river adjusts to your presence, just as you adjust to it. There is no right or wrong here, only a natural partnership that hums quietly beneath the surface. Moments pass, but they do not hurry. Time thickens around your breaths and thins as it drifts elsewhere, weaving gently through your fingers and toes, through the curve of your spine and the tilt of your head. It does not judge the way you float, the way you rest, the way you drift. Everything is precisely as it should be. You are perfectly supported in this current. A tiny thought surfaces, soft and warm. Perhaps your body has always been a small universe, filled with its own rivers and currents, its own thick and thin patches of time. You smile slightly, imagining atoms and cells drifting politely, each contributing to the larger flow, each dancing along the invisible threads of the river without awareness or fuss. The image is comforting. It is amusing. It is real. Your attention returns to your breath, gentle and steady. Inhale, and your lungs expand like soft balloons filling the river with subtle waves. Exhale, and the water accommodates, folding itself neatly around your form, supporting and cradling without judgment. There is a tiny humor here, too. The idea that a river could notice and respond to something as small as a sigh feels absurd, and yet here it is, happening anyway. You chuckle quietly, almost imperceptibly, and the river seems to share the joke. The distant hum of the water beneath you remains steady, comforting, and intimate. It does not demand attention. It simply exists, reflecting the subtle motions of your body, echoing your rhythm without rushing or resisting. Your presence shapes it softly, your warmth shapes it, your awareness shapes it. All of this is enough. You feel the gentle reassurance of this shared rhythm. You float, not separate, not distant, not merely within time, but alongside it, a co-creator of the very flow you drift upon. The river does not abandon you to its currents. It adapts, flexes, and holds you in a perfect, quiet partnership. Even the smallest motion, an eyelid flutter, a finger brushing the surface, carries meaning here, shaping your world in ways that are profound and yet invisible. Time in this space is tender. It does not command, it does not demand, it does not rush. It mirrors the grace of your own breathing, bending and stretching in response to the gentle touch of your body. You are not lost. You are seen. You are held. You inhale deeply. The river rises slightly, cradling you in a current tuned precisely to your presence. You exhale. It holds you still, soft and warm, as if it had been waiting for you all along. Your body is no longer merely floating. It is embedded in the current, shaping it, participating in it, and resting fully within it. The water darkens slightly ahead, not in threat, but in depth. It invites you to notice what lies below, to acknowledge the unseen layers of the river, the currents that exist beneath the surface of perception. You feel prepared. You are supported. You trust the river to carry you into these deeper spaces, ready to explore the quiet mysteries ahead. The air remains warm, golden, and still. The hum beneath you is steady, intimate, and patient. And with each breath, each heartbeat, each subtle motion, you relax further, sinking gently into trust, into presence, into the river itself. Time flows around you. You float. You are enough. The river carries you deeper now, toward regions where the water thickens with quiet patience. You notice the current slowing, not abruptly, but gradually, as if it has remembered how to savor each moment. Time itself begins to feel weightier here, like honey resting over your skin, pulling softly, urging reflection without demand. You do not need to rush. You do not need to understand. You are simply invited to observe. The depths are immense, almost impossibly wide, yet comforting. Massive objects linger below the surface, bending the river gently, shaping its flow with invisible hands. The water curves around them with subtle elegance, accommodating the weight without strain. You float nearby, held securely in the soft resistance of gravity, yet free to drift wherever the current allows. Your breath is slow, deliberate, in rhythm with the thickening seconds. Inhale, and the river rises slightly to meet you. Exhale, and it holds you gently, steady as a cradle. The hum beneath the surface is deeper here, more resonant, like a bass note that vibrates quietly in the chest. It is the song of presence, of stability, of time behaving exactly as it should. You sense that nothing is urgent in these deep wells. Time does not hurry. Light does not race. Even motion slows to a lazy glide. Physics remains calm and law-abiding, unfolding as if it had no reason to do otherwise. The universe is neither harsh nor demanding here. It is simply attentive. Science drifts beside you, unobtrusive, offering gentle insight. It explains that near massive concentrations, time literally stretches, moments extending like warm, fluid threads. This is not a punishment, not a trap. It is merely how the river flows where weight gathers, where mass is immense, and where the water deepens naturally. You feel this principle more than you need to know it formally, as a comforting rhythm surrounding your body. You notice the warmth of the water hugging your skin, the faint glow reflecting off its surface. It is a luminous patience, a quiet invitation to linger. You smile at the thought of time itself pausing here, stretching luxuriously, enjoying the deep embrace of gravity. The notion is faintly amusing, and yet it settles easily into your chest, reassuring and familiar. Your body floats fully supported, every curve and line cradled by the current. There is no struggle here, no sensation of being pulled apart. Every motion you make is absorbed into the water, mirrored by the slow, deliberate flow of seconds. You are integrated into the river, and it into you in a harmony so subtle it almost escapes notice. The distant hum deepens further, resonating in places you had forgotten to listen. Your breath aligns with it, rising and falling in quiet partnership. You notice that even small movements, an eyelid flutter, a gentle stretch of a finger, send delicate ripples through the current. Time responds not with judgment but with patience. Every ripple is received and incorporated. A tiny spark of humor surfaces, soft and warm. You imagine gravity leaning close, whispering politely to time, "Please, slow just a little more." Time obliges, stretching like taffy, pliant and obedient in the gentlest way imaginable. You smile quietly, feeling the absurd delight of this collaboration. Even here, at these extremes, the river feels safe. You are not at risk. You are not vulnerable. You are simply floating, observing, breathing. The immense depths do not intimidate. They reassure. Their presence is a lullaby. The water above you glimmers faintly, as though light is making its way patiently through layers of density. It dances across the surface, highlighting the slow curves of the river, illuminating the passage of moments that linger like soft, liquid notes. Everything here moves, but moves kindly. Everything here flows, but flows gently. You inhale, feeling the thickened current lift slightly beneath you. You exhale, sinking further into the steady embrace of the river. Seconds stretch, fold, and hover, cushioned by the mass surrounding them. You feel yourself drifting in tandem with the slow rhythm, safe in its laws, at peace in its order. Gradually, a faint promise of light begins to appear ahead, a shimmer like dawn peeking across the water. The current hints at transition, but does not hurry. You float, noticing, trusting, breathing. The deep wells fade gently into an openness beyond, as if the river itself is preparing to lift you once again toward gentler, lighter flows. Time continues to hum, steady, patient, and kind. The river begins to shimmer faintly as you float, catching the soft glow of light tracing delicate paths across the surface. It bends and arcs subtly, following the curves of the current, yet never disturbing the gentle motion of the water itself. You notice it first at the edges of your vision, then as a luminous presence that moves in tandem with the river. Time seems to follow it, stretching and folding around the glimmering trails. Your breath becomes aware of the light. Inhale and the glow lifts slightly. Exhale, and it settles, warm and welcoming, into the surface of the river. Each inhale and exhale becomes a dialogue, a gentle exchange between your body, the current, and the luminous patterns dancing atop it. Nothing is rushed, nothing abrupt. All flows in quiet, elegant accord. You sense that light has its own rhythm, its own gentle pulse. It bends not because it must, but because it chooses to follow the river's shape. Space and time reveal themselves as woven fabric, each thread responding softly to the other. Science whispers beside you, quietly explanatory without intrusion. Gravity, mass, and motion bend the river's light, curving its path and extending its journey. You feel the explanation rather than hear it, in the warmth and motion surrounding your skin. The glow shifts subtly as your body moves, reacting to even the smallest motions. A hand brushing the water sends tiny ripples across the surface, scattering reflections into intricate patterns. A finger lifts and a new ripple forms. Everything communicates softly, each motion acknowledged, each response measured with patience. Time and light collaborate, neither hurried, neither restrained, simply flowing together. There is a gentle humor in imagining light pausing politely, curving around a ripple as if saying, I'll take the scenic route today. The thought drifts by, warming your chest, and dissolves into the rhythm of the river without demand. You feel at ease with this playful subtlety, appreciating how even the smallest interactions can hold grace and elegance. Warmth lingers in the water, complementing the glow that dances along the surface. You notice the hum beneath your body, steady, like the river's heartbeat echoing through the currents. The light seems to respond to it, winking faintly, tracing soft, elongated arcs that make the surface appear alive. Time stretches alongside it, elongating the moments gently, giving each shimmer space to linger just a little longer. You inhale and the light rises in tandem. You exhale and it settles, hugging the surface and the space around you. Your own rhythm now merges with the rhythm of the river, and with the rhythm of light itself. You float comfortably within this triad, aware of the seamless cooperation, aware that you are held at every level. Even here, in this luminous interplay, science remains quietly present, not as a set of numbers or equations, but as a concept you sense intuitively. You understand that light curves, that gravity shapes, that time stretches, all without harshness, all without force. Everything is natural. Everything is patient. Everything is deeply, profoundly accommodating. The glow reflects in your eyes, flickering gently as though the river is smiling back. You smile faintly in response, sensing the humor in the way the universe choreographs such subtle patterns. It is a humor without demand, soft and warm, like a feather brushing past your cheek. You appreciate the elegance of it, and it settles over your mind like a warm blanket. Gradually, the current steadies, carrying you toward homeward currents. The shimmer of light continues, but it becomes a guide rather than a focus, a quiet companion leading you onward. The river itself hums softly beneath you, steady and dependable, whispering that the journey is continuing, and that all is as it should be. You float, breathing, glowing, moving, and the world around you seems to pause just long enough to notice the gentle harmony of light, water, and time. Inhale as the glow rises. Exhale as it folds softly into the river. You are carried onward, fully supported, fully present, fully aware of the luminous rhythm surrounding you. And as the current steadies, you sense the next quiet invitation forming ahead, a gentle transition toward understanding the flexible, patient nature of the present itself. The river's current softens again, almost imperceptibly, as if it has remembered to be gentle with itself. You notice that moments no longer feel like discrete beads or marks along a path, but more like a stretch of water, continuous and pliant. Now is no longer a sharp point on a timeline. It is a gentle flow that carries you along, expansive yet intimate, familiar yet ever-changing. You inhale slowly, feeling the water lift you just a fraction, and exhale, letting it settle, carrying your awareness with it. Every sensation, from the warmth against your skin to the faint hum beneath the surface, becomes a marker of presence rather than measurement. You float, and time bends quietly around you, adjusting to your rhythm without complaint. There is no judgment here, only a soft patience that embraces the shape of your experience. You imagine other travelers floating nearby, each in their own stretch of now. Some rise a little faster, some drift a little slower, yet all currents coexist within the same river. There is no competition, no comparison required. Each experience of present is valid, complete, and entirely sufficient. The river affirms it in subtle ripples and soft glows, like a quiet yes whispered beneath the surface. Science drifts alongside you, still unobtrusive, offering gentle insight without interruption. It explains that relativity does not separate, judge, or command. It adapts. Time stretches or compresses in harmony with movement, mass, and distance, but it is never harsh. You sense this principle not in formulas, but in the soft, patient flow of the river and the way it cradles you. Understanding is optional. Presence is enough. A small, playful thought surfaces. If each now has its own stretch, then perhaps your current has always been exactly right. Perhaps the river has never misjudged your pace. You smile faintly, the realization warming your chest and easing your mind. Even humor floats gently here, subtle, light, and unintrusive. The warmth of the river deepens, embracing your body with quiet reassurance. The glow of light stretches along the surface, illuminating the gentle arcs of the current as it bends and curves around you. Your breath aligns with these movements, rising and falling, in a rhythm that feels inherently yours. The present is soft, flexible, accommodating, and alive. You notice how easily thoughts come and go here. They drift past like leaves on the water, some lingering long enough to be noticed, others carried silently onward. None are required to stay. None are demanded. Time in this space has room for both stillness and drift, for awareness and forgetting alike. Inhale, and the river lifts slightly, buoying not only your body but your perception of each moment. Exhale, and it settles you back into a quiet trust that nothing is missing, nothing is urgent. You float inside this flexible now, fully supported, fully present, fully unmeasured. The sensation is gentle, grounding, and deeply reassuring. You begin to notice the river's current slowing even further, as if it knows you are ready to rest. Seconds stretch without pressure, without weight, expanding the space around each thought, each breath, each small sensation. You feel lighter, more spacious, more open. There is nothing to chase, nothing to avoid, nothing to measure. Science whispers again, quietly, like a friend at the water's edge. It reminds you that time's flexibility is not arbitrary. It is woven into the very fabric of reality. Every river, every current, every present adapts naturally, lawfully, gracefully. You are held in this order without effort or concern. A gentle humor drifts by, soft as a feather. You imagine the river stretching time politely for all travelers, nodding to each, saying, "Please, take your time." The thought warms you without demanding focus. You inhale the patience. You exhale the permission to rest. You sense, finally, that the river itself is preparing for deeper stillness. Its current slows further, the light softens, and the hum beneath you steadies. The flexible now cradles you, supports you, and whispers that you are exactly where you belong. You float, breathing slowly, resting fully, and the river carries you onward toward the quiet ease of the next chapter. The river eases into a quiet rhythm, almost imperceptible, as if it has remembered how to carry you without effort. You float, noticing that distinctions between fast and slow, thick and thin, near and far, dissolve softly into sensation. Time no longer announces itself. It simply flows, unobtrusive, patient, accommodating. You are not measuring it. You are resting within it. Gravity rests its weight quietly beneath the surface. Motion bends gently around your form without altering your course. Light curves softly, illuminating the water in muted glimmers that neither demand attention nor distract from your ease. Everything works in harmony, quietly supporting, holding, cradling, without interruption. The river is sufficient. You are sufficient. Your body feels buoyed by the current, each inhale lifting slightly, each exhale settling fully. The air around you is still and warm. Your skin senses the gentle embrace of water flowing beneath and around you. You float within the river's gentle pulse, and it aligns with your rhythm, neither hurried nor lagging. There is no tension here, no need to resist, no expectation of control. You are simply present. Science drifts near, like a companion observing without comment. It reminds you softly that time, motion, gravity, and light are interwoven, that each flows according to the universe's quiet law. But you do not need to understand in order to feel it. You do not need to act. You are merely invited to rest in the awareness that all is functioning perfectly without interference. A subtle warmth spreads through your chest. It is the reassurance of being held without question. You feel the river in every part of your body, from the tips of your fingers to the soles of your feet. It supports your weight, your presence, your thoughts, and even your stillness. All currents, all flows, all forms of time converge into this gentle support. Inhale, and the water lifts you slightly higher, buoying your chest and shoulders. Exhale, and it settles you fully, allowing the river to carry every ounce of you without strain. You feel a soft humor, as though the river itself chuckles quietly at the ease of its own work. It does not ask, it does not judge. It simply flows, carrying you. You notice that differences in motion no longer matter. You are not racing, drifting, or falling behind. The river adapts invisibly, without interruption, making space for every micro-movement, every subtle shift, every breath. Time flows around you as a companion, not a taskmaster, not a ledger. You float, entirely held by its patient presence. The glow of light beneath the surface feels warmer here, softer and more expansive. The hum beneath you deepens slightly, comforting and steady, like a familiar melody played low and slow. Your senses remain grounded. The warmth on your skin, the air brushing your cheeks, the subtle sway of the water around your body. Everything exists together in perfect, quiet harmony. You drift past distinctions entirely. Seconds and minutes, fast and slow, thick and thin, none require your notice. The river carries you regardless, patient, unmeasured, faithful. You float fully, deeply, entirely. There is nothing else to do. Your breath remains slow and deliberate. Inhale, expanding your awareness of the gentle current. Exhale, surrendering fully to its support. You are held without effort. You are cradled without supervision. You are complete within this motion, this stillness, this moment. Ahead, the river begins to smooth further, preparing the current for near stillness. You sense the approaching calm, not urgent, not demanding, but simply present, inviting you to release fully. You float, breathing, held, supported, and carried by the river itself. The science fades into sensation. The water smooths into gentle near stillness. You drift, unmeasured, effortless, ready for rest. The river smooths into near stillness, carrying you gently as if it has remembered the exact contours of your body. There is no urgency in the water, no rush in the current. Seconds do not mark themselves. They do not tap impatiently against the surface. Time continues, quietly, patiently, softly. You are neither late nor early. You simply float. Your body rests fully in the embrace of the river, every limb supported, every motion absorbed. Breath comes slow and steady, each inhale a gentle lift, each exhale a slow settling. The hum beneath you deepens, like a soft lullaby vibrating through the water. Gravity remains present, but it is a whisper, a quiet underpinning rather than a force to contend with. You are held completely. Science drifts nearby, unassuming, patient, like a teacher who has finished speaking and simply watches with understanding. It is present but silent, no need for proof or demonstration. The laws that govern the cosmos continue their quiet work. Light, gravity, motion, and time unfold naturally, without oversight or command. You are free to observe, to breathe, to rest, without expectation. Your senses remain awake in the gentlest way. You feel the warmth of the water against your skin. You hear the distant, steady hum beneath the surface. You notice faint glimmers of light dancing across the smooth river, tracing invisible paths without urgency. You are here, fully present, fully cradled, fully at peace. A small smile forms as you acknowledge that nothing needs your attention. The river does not demand. The currents do not need your direction. The seconds do not count against you. Everything continues in its lawful, quiet, gentle rhythm. You float within it, relaxed, supported, and unmeasured. Your presence is enough. You inhale slowly, expanding into the water. Exhale fully, letting the current cradle you completely. Even your smallest movements, your tiniest adjustments, are welcomed by the river. They ripple gently, absorbed effortlessly, leaving you at ease. You are both part of the river and held by it. Time has become a soft companion rather than a strict ruler. There is no now to chase, no later to anticipate. Moments flow seamlessly, tenderly, in harmony with the gentle pull of gravity, the soft push of the current, and the quiet gleam of light across the water. You float in this endless, patient presence. A hint of humor rises lightly, warm and invisible. Perhaps the river winks at you, or perhaps it simply hums, aware of its own perfection and playfulness. You feel the warmth of that thought, like sunlight brushing over your face. It reminds you that even in stillness, the river has character, a subtle joy, a gentle care. Breath and body continue their quiet dance. Inhale, exhale. The river carries you fully. No force, no struggle, no expectation. Just support, just flow, just presence. Gradually, your awareness shifts toward a soft horizon. You notice the faint suggestion of transition, not as movement but as the promise of deeper stillness. The water, time, and gravity seem to merge, forming a calm cradle for your entire being. You float in it fully, letting yourself rest without concern. The river holds you completely. The seconds, the currents, the gentle hum beneath you, all continue without demand. You breathe, you float, you rest. The river carries you into unmeasured, peaceful, infinite calm. The river's current softens again, almost imperceptibly, as if it has remembered to be gentle with itself. You notice that moments no longer feel like discrete beads or marks along a path, but more like a stretch of water, continuous and pliant. Now is no longer a sharp point on a timeline. It is a gentle flow that carries you along, expansive yet intimate, familiar yet ever-changing. You inhale slowly, feeling the water lift you just a fraction, and exhale, letting it settle, carrying your awareness with it. Every sensation, from the warmth against your skin to the faint hum beneath the surface, becomes a marker of presence rather than measurement. You float, and time bends quietly around you, adjusting to your rhythm without complaint. There is no judgment here, only a soft patience that embraces the shape of your experience. You imagine other travelers floating nearby, each in their own stretch of now. Some rise a little faster, some drift a little slower, yet all currents coexist within the same river. There is no competition, no comparison required. Each experience of present is valid, complete, and entirely sufficient. The river affirms it in subtle ripples and soft glows, like a quiet yes whispered beneath the surface. Science drifts alongside you, still unobtrusive, offering gentle insight without interruption. It explains that relativity does not separate, judge, or command. It adapts. Time stretches or compresses in harmony with movement, mass, and distance, but it is never harsh. You sense this principle not in formulas, but in the soft, patient flow of the river and the way it cradles you. Understanding is optional. Presence is enough. A small, playful thought surfaces. If each now has its own stretch, then perhaps your current has always been exactly right. Perhaps the river has never misjudged your pace. You smile faintly, the realization warming your chest and easing your mind. Even humor floats gently here, subtle, light, and unintrusive. The warmth of the river deepens, embracing your body with quiet reassurance. The glow of light stretches along the surface, illuminating the gentle arcs of the current as it bends and curves around you. Your breath aligns with these movements, rising and falling, in a rhythm that feels inherently yours. The present is soft, flexible, accommodating, and alive. You notice how easily thoughts come and go here. They drift past like leaves on the water, some lingering long enough to be noticed, others carried silently onward. None are required to stay. None are demanded. Time in this space has room for both stillness and drift, for awareness and forgetting alike. Inhale, and the river lifts slightly, buoying not only your body but your perception of each moment. Exhale, and it settles you back into a quiet trust that nothing is missing, nothing is urgent. You float inside this flexible now, fully supported, fully present, fully unmeasured. The sensation is gentle, grounding, and deeply reassuring. You begin to notice the river's current slowing even further, as if it knows you are ready to rest. Seconds stretch without pressure, without weight, expanding the space around each thought, each breath, each small sensation. You feel lighter, more spacious, more open. There is nothing to chase, nothing to avoid, nothing to measure. Science whispers again, quietly, like a friend at the water's edge. It reminds you that time's flexibility is not arbitrary. It is woven into the very fabric of reality. Every river, every current, every present adapts naturally, lawfully, gracefully. You are held in this order without effort or concern. A gentle humor drifts by, soft as a feather. You imagine the river stretching time politely for all travelers, nodding to each, saying, "Please, take your time." The thought warms you without demanding focus. You inhale the patience. You exhale the permission to rest. You sense, finally, that the river itself is preparing for deeper stillness. Its current slows further, the light softens, and the hum beneath you steadies. The flexible now cradles you, supports you, and whispers that you are exactly where you belong. You float, breathing slowly, resting fully, and the river carries you onward toward the quiet ease of the next chapter.